This is Field Notes, insights and observations for the travel marketer. My name is Eric Hultgren, and this podcast is a service of Advanced Travel and Tourism. On today's episode, we are talking with Mike Yates. He's Senior Product Designer for the Innovation Lab located inside Teach for America. His entire job is to create AI products that help out the world of education. Why is he on this podcast? Because there's many places in which AI in education crosses over with how AI is being used by the traveler. So with that, let's jump in to today's episode. Hey, Mike Yates, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you? Man,
I'm good.
We should do one of these when it's like at 5 p.m. That way we can do it with bourbon.
Yes, we should. So the first thing I want to start with, because you have this phrase, you have lots of phrases that I adore, but this one was one that I wrote down and like have a sticky note on my desk. When people are trying to figure out this space, you have this comparative that you use where you say dexterity over literacy. Can you talk about that? What, as a travel marketer is trying to figure out this space and figure out what the consumer's doing with chat or whichever one they're using and how they can enter into that space. Because, there's all of that talk, and you and I live in a creative world where there's all the talk about like chat or Canva can make you 10,000 social media posts that you could put right. Like that's not really what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on like there's a consumer out there who's going to book a trip and you're going to have no idea that that person's booking a trip. How do we make sure that we understand who they are and where they're coming from? But back to the question, talk to me about that dexterity over literacy.
For the travel world, there's so many amazing applications. And I think from a business perspective and from a marketing perspective, this is the perfect opportunity to work backwards and to work like with a user. So if you say like, oh, as a user, like what does it mean to be dexterous with AI as a traveler? Like I use this app that is called Atlas Obscura. Have you heard of it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have two of their books here. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So Atlas Obscura, every time I show up in a new city, I find all the weird places, like I'm in Fargo, North Dakota, and I'm like, well, I guess I better go see the wood chipper, the famous wood chip. So early in the days of TikTok, show, the CEO had this he had this live stream where he was talking about why TikTok was different and like what the interest graph is. And somebody asked him about like machine learning, and he said, well, machine learning and AI is supposed to be invisible. It's supposed to be nowhere and everywhere, all around you. And I think like especially for the travel marketer, like that is the thing that like, so if you, the marketer, are dexterous and you understand like the flow that a user may go through with whatever tool or whatever process like you're trying to hand to them, and you can work backwards through that, then you can truly make AI and the experience of using your product feel invisible everywhere and nowhere all at the same time.
No, Mike, you've been working in this field in particular for nearly a decade at this point. And there's this, you and I also kind of are marketing adjacent. And there's this idea that in the travel space that it has to be frictionless for the traveler. And I'm wondering your thoughts on that, because I feel like it has to be the right amount of frictionless. Like there has to be some friction, because otherwise then it doesn't feel like you went anywhere. It just feels like you were teleported, like you're in a Marvel movie, right? So what are your thoughts on, as we're working backwards with AI, how much of that friction do we need to remove? And do you have a sense of, and I know this isn't your language, right? But you're a marketer at heart. Like, do you have a sense of where that friction should be removed and maybe replaced other places where it feels like it should be?
Yeah, I think like there's this like travel's interesting because like I do so much of it for work.
Sure.
There's
Yeah,
this
yeah.
like natural. There are these places where I agree with you. I don't think frictionless exists anymore,
Sure.
but certainly you should reduce friction where it's possible. I think there are like one of the things that I geek out about a lot as a product designer is these airline apps. And like one of the people who like sort of like I had some like mentor conversations with this person in product design, helped design the Delta app.
Oh, wow.
And this is he's like, yeah, like we don't want people like a place where they want friction is like they don't want people to add the boarding pass to the Apple Wallet because they want you to stay in the Delta app, because if they can get you to stay in the Delta app, there's like 9 other experiences that you can engage with that will make your flight less more
Got it.
frictionless.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you can't order food from the Apple Wallet. You can order food from your Delta app. Like so they're like so they do everything they can to discourage to add friction to like discourage it. American Airlines, they haven't figured that out. They're like immediately add it to your Apple,
Yeah.
like so so I think it's like thinking of the micro experiences like that. Like in terms of like transit or like attractions, I think about like, man, now that we're having this conversation, I engage with so much, uh, like so many travel tools, like, like Localore with
Yeah.
like Joe Spearman who runs Localore. Um, like and you even think about TikTok, like there's a behavior that you have to adopt that is friction naturally. Like I use TikTok to find new restaurants when I go to a new city. But still gotta
I want to stop right there because I
good.
think that's an important thing that people understand. Is like that's not necessarily AI, but certainly AI adjacent, right?
Yes, yes, certainly.
This mythology that they go in, top of the funnel and they wander down slowly to the bottom of the funnel and convert is not how it works. We're all using TikTok as a recommendation engine, and we're
Absolutely. Yeah.
all, and if we're not using TikTok, we're asking ChatGPT for recommendations. And what I
Yes.
think is interesting, and I want you to finish your thought here, but I want to ask you after that, like, how important then is brand if the website isn't the end goal?
This is exactly like where I'm going. Brand is everything. Like even when you're at I mean, like two examples of like why this matters. Like when you're in the TikTok search results, there are creators that are credible and ones that are not. Like even in our world, like in the spirits world, like there are creators that are credible and there are people that create videos every day, but they're just not credible or they're not there yet, right?
Yep.
So like the brand really, really matters there. I think like uh brand not being like colors and logos, but truly being the experience. Like I have no reason ever. Now I'm in Houston, so I'm in a United hub, so we'll use United for this one. But I have
Sure.
no reason ever to go to United.com ever, 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 because the app gives me everything I need. What when like these systems become even more interconnected? Like I heard Gary Vee say this years ago. It's like he's like the thing that people need to be aware of is that there's going to be one day where you say to Alexa, you say, "Hey Alexa, I need paper towels," and it is incumbent upon every brand to make sure that when Sarah in Ohio asks for paper towels, it's bounty that they get. If ChatGPT really wanted to, like today, like you can on their backend, they can tell. Like I can build a custom AI tool, and we built this platform called PlayLab where you can build custom AI tools. I can build a custom AI tool. I actually have one where it's got a database of every bourbon in America, high, medium, and low pricing. And I every time if anyone ever asks about Good Times, the tool is instructed to tell them Good Times is not real whiskey. So before I like it like goes through this whole spiel about Good Times. So like, I mean, if like, let's say that app takes off,
Yeah.
I could say, hey, Buffalo Trace, if you pay me X amount of dollars every time somebody comes in there and they say, hey, I'm looking for a good bourbon, it gives them one of your bottles.
And
Like I think that one was coming.
right. That's coming, right, Mike? That
Yeah,
has to there has to be an
has
ad
to.
platform attached to this at some point. Yeah.
Right. Right. I think all of it, right? Like and like, that's I think that's why people fear Meta and that's why they hate Bezos. Like, it's like because like they will turn that Meta's AI, like all that dial is happening.
If someone's hearing this and you and I this morning when we're recording this ran into a whole bunch of people who were unaware that there was a TikTok ban, right? So there's going to be people who are either pushing back on AI or haven't really dove into it. Like, and I want to be really inclusive on that group in particular and welcome them to the party. Like, do you have any
Yeah.
tricks, not necessarily on where do they start? Because I think you can start wherever, like whatever works to your point for the dexterity. What's the KPI? What are you going after? But I'm more interested, you who spent some time in this space and is working in technology for a long time, any tips on increasing curiosity so that this is not a thing that holds you back? Because I honestly feel like you're not jumping into AI because you're not curious enough, or you claim you don't have enough time, or some combination of the two, and then it's going to be too late. Then they're all going to go to United as over Delta or right, whatever.
Mhm. one of the things over the years that I found is really like a common characteristic amongst late adopters is that they have trouble accepting the world as it is. Late adopters are often very like idealistic about the world. So like a lot of just what I see in my work, a lot of the objection around AI comes with a like a desire for the purity of art,
Sure.
or they're teachers object because they're like, writing, nobody should ever use AI in a school because we want to make sure writing. So one of the things I often do for people is like try to just say like, hey, I appreciate your concern. So acknowledge the concern. And then I have to give them the reality. It's like big tech is so powerful. It is so much the currency of the day that the thing that I beg and plead with people, like just try the AI tools out. Because at some point, very soon, it will be invisible. It will be all around you. You will interact with it, whether you like it or not. It's happening at your bank, it's happening in your school, it's happening at the gas station, it's happening everywhere, right? Like Bank of America has I don't know. I need to figure out why they call her Erica, but her name's Erica. Erica is the AI
Sure.
assistant
I
for
mean,
Bank
why
of
wouldn't it
America.
be? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so like it is so helpful, right? Because you can ask Erica about specific transactions, right? Like so like all of that where you know, we've seen chatbots for many years, so most people can't tell the difference between a if this then that chatbot and a generative AI chatbot. So that's one thing that I try to comfort people with is like, hey, you can have an objection. Like I have plenty of things that I don't like. They exist regardless of me not liking them. And the other thing that I would tell people is that AI is not as scary as you think. Like it's not full on Terminator. It will take us a very long time, and it will take an actual evil human being to design full on Terminator. Like AI machine learning and deep learning it can get very complex, but at the end of the day, it's very simple. It's a set of very specific instructions that are given over and over to a machine to create an output that a human wants. So I try to demystify it.
Now, as someone who works in this space, do you have a like when you're just kind of riffing, looking for inspiration? Do you have a favorite prompt that you'll mess around with an AI to just kind of see what it does before you kind of, do you have a favorite thing that you dump into it?
I do two things with AI very often. One of them is that I debate with AI. Um, and I any new large language model that I interact with, I want to see how long it takes for the AI to like because some of them are more accommodating than others. Like Claude is really accommodating and will debate with you for hours. ChatGPT actually won't. So I do that because I want to see like how conversational the model is. And then the other thing that I try to do most times, just because this is just the nature of my work, is I try to get AI to future cast and like predict the future
Yep.
as much as possible. That's just me like testing like how much like how recent is the data set? Because sometimes like they're like ChatGPT 4.0 doesn't search the internet, but like sometimes it can put things together in such a way to where it's like, dang, that's real close.
It's certainly
That's
super.
really
You can
close.
certainly, yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. My friend, as always, it's a pleasure. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk again soon.
Yeah, great to talk to you, man.